Well, good morning, everybody. We are headed back over to the bus because we spray foamed. And it's time to go take a look, figure out our trimming process, and overall, judge our work. So right now, let's show you guys what that process looked like, throw it on the time lapse, and in a moment, you'll see it all done. All right, here we are. Ta-da! So, how do I feel about what we got? Overall, I'm happy with the outcome. It's a nice product. I'm happy with Foam It Green. It sprays decently. I've never done one of these kits before, but I've seen them be a lot messier than this one. You know, they're messy, these DIY kits. They don't have enough pressure in the tanks to give you a nice even spray like a fan or a pressurized system. I do see some issues, areas I need to fill, and the good news is that's not particularly difficult to do. I'm just gonna go through, like right here, for example, you see there's a tiny low spot. Go through. I do have a little more in this first kit. I have a second kit available as well, which I'm going to be using underneath the bus. I think I have to figure out a top coat situation for that. But overall, I'm pretty happy with our outcome. In lots of places, I did go too thick, so there's going to be a lot of trimming, and I'm aware of that. I kind of expected that to happen. I was hoping to minimize that issue, but it is what it is. That didn't necessarily occur in every spot. So it's gonna be a lot of trimming. The trimming tool is late. It hasn't arrived yet. It's just basically a giant bread knife. I also got a hot trim tool, which is like a hot wire, strung, but it's a bow trim tool. Hot wire strung between two electric pieces, and you can go through and just run the wire along these ribs, for example. And take this out. You know, this stuff is breakable. You can break off the pieces that you don't want there, but it's going to be nicer to trim it with a knife. Overall, am I happy? Yes. Am I 100% psyched? No. Could it have been better? Yes. Could it have been worse? Absolutely. So I think we did a pretty good thing here. I'm going to throw the nozzle back on now. Try and use up a little bit of what's left in these tanks. It looks like the tank is just barely in the green, so it should shoot okay. And I want to just tap some of these areas where it's just a little bit thin. So I think now's a good time to give that a shot. So I'll do that right now and be back with you guys momentarily. with what our plan for today is. Okay, so I just finished my touch-up. It actually did drain the tanks, and you can tell when your tanks are done when you start getting blue or orange. The two components are like a blue and orange, which is what gives you the green, and when one of them is flowing faster than the other, you don't get a good mix, and that's when you get discoloration like that. So we actually just did use up the very last bit of this first kit to finish in here. There was a lot of voids and stuff that I found. Basically anywhere you see this large amount of overflow, that's me filling a void after the fact. So quite a few voids, but it is what it is. And we'll go back and trim those once my big knife gets here. It really shouldn't be that hard. The stuff is not super soft. I mean, it's not super hard. And the knife is designed specifically for cutting this sort of material. Now, we were able to be pretty thick in these areas because the tin goes along like such, so we have all this gap. We do have to be a lot more careful in the rest of these areas because we're planning on going along these ribs. So I will take my big knife. It's 30 inches long, I believe, so we should be golden for this span, and I'll just kind of run it across, and wherever it catches, I'll spend a little more time on that area. So like obviously this is too low, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be quite a process to trim it out, but that's okay. So again, quick specs on this foam. It's R7 per inch, I believe. So we're already at an R7.5 or something like that throughout this space. There are pieces, like when the tin goes up, where we could stuff more insulation in there. Whether that be wool or fiberglass, it could go in there. But these thin spots, you kind of had to use foam unless I wanted to build it down. And I didn't, because I'm accounting for both my floor going up from flooring and possibly some hard foam below the flooring. Not much. But if this were to come down, it would really affect my ceiling height. Now, I'm not tall. But there are people that I know who already kind of have to duck in here. All right, starting to take the masking down. It looks like we did a good job. I don't really see any foam getting into our paintwork. And up here where we jammed paper towel rolls, cheap dollar store paper towel rolls, between this gap to create our wall of foam, it worked. It worked well. Obviously there's some paper towel residue on there, but that's fine. I'll just pick that off over time. But we have this really nice just wall of foam right there between this rail and this outer skin, so we can still install our window. So that worked out the way I wanted it to. Is it the best solution? I don't know, but it's definitely the most affordable. I mean, I spent less than $30 on paper towels, which the rolls are still usable. So it was a pretty good solution as far as I'm concerned. Well, I got impatient and I was just looking around outside and on Dad's old tool chest. Found this nice old saw, and it actually works pretty good for these purposes of trimming. So I'm just kind of trimming the easy bits. I'm still going to wait for the nice knife to come in for the top, just because it's longer, and you know, this makes a lot of static and stuff, where hopefully the other one won't do as much. But it works pretty well. You can see it's a fairly easy cut. I'm just kind of lining it up where I want it, and just a quick, and I can get, you know, decent results. So anyway, I'm just kind of playing right now, getting the majority of the junk out of the way, and then I'll sweep up in here and we can keep going. So there's the masking down on that side, masking still up on that side, but yeah, I think overall, you know, most of this isn't getting paneled, I should point out. So what I'm pointing at here is behind cabinets on the driver's side. So we have pantry right here, and then cabinet, 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 and then this is open below, but there's countertop above, and our mini split sits right there. So that's all gonna get cut out to be vented for the mini split anyway. I probably should have just not wasted foam on that, but whatever. On this side, it's all couch. So again, there's really no, and then it's cabinets all the way over here. So there's really none of this that we're gonna see paneling except for from here up. So just this small piece needs a panel because that's below the TV stand. Bathroom, that small piece needs a panel. Not a big deal at all. And back here, hidden in the closet, back of the closet, so that might need a panel. This is all going to be built out to thicker 2x furniture for the bed platform. So I expect, you know, this wall to be built out quite a bit, and then probably put some extra insulation in there, so don't really have to trim it too hard. The majority of the trimming has to happen on the ceiling. You know, all this stuff has to be cut flat so we can have our paneling go up in the center. So anyway, it shouldn't take more than a day or two to do the trimming, especially once the right tool gets here. But anyway, on we go. Okay, well, it's been about an hour and I've trimmed out both of these sides here. So I got a pretty good trimmings pile going. And again, like, this was the easiest thing, and that took me about an hour. So I'm assuming we're gonna be 5-6 hours on the ceiling with the nicer knife, and I also haven't done anything back here on these side walls yet. We're chugging along. After this foam is done, we're gonna look at reinstalling windows, yet I haven't found a gasket material yet for these. Around these edges here and up the side, both of those pieces seem unavailable. I've asked a bunch of different manufacturers, many of which are just ignoring me, but 2 of them replied that they don't have it. So we're kind of striking out on those. We may just have to use a whole lot of caulking. We can work on finishing our electrical 100% and adding our supply plumbing. Drain plumbing is only 4 drains in the whole bus. We have a drain here for the shower. We have the toilet draining, which is already hooked up to a black tank. We have the bathroom sink drain, which I think I'm going to put into the black tank and not a gray tank. And then we have this guy going from the kitchen sink to probably a gray tank. I don't know. I'm not sure how big this black tank is. I'm also not entirely sure what condition it's in. That's something that we're going to determine later when we get the bus up in the air. But I think it makes sense for people who are doing this themselves to run your sink water into your black tank, because basically you want to conserve water. So you're just going to flush enough water to make whatever's in there go down, and then you're going to refill the bowl. If you know anything about RV toilets, there's a little valve, and that's what holds the water up. There's no S-trap or anything like a household toilet. But to make sure there's enough water in your black tank so the solids don't get stuck, I think it's a good idea to plumb your waste hand water into there as well. Just keeps the black tank having enough liquid in it without wasting water from the toilet. So instead of putting excess water in when you flush, you're going to put your wastewater in from your sink, and that'll do the same thing. Well, you get 2 uses out of it: clean hands and keeping enough liquid in your black tank. At least that's my opinion. So I came home for a little break and maybe get some lunch, and my foam cutter showed up already. Prime 1 day is cool. So anyway, I'll turn this on. I'm just leaving that switch on. It seems kind of redundant. Immediately glows red. Bree, hold the foam.
The foam?
Yeah, hold the foam. Oh, don't worry, I'm not going to burn you. Okay, hold the camera.
Hold the camera.
Hold the camera. Okay, ready? So hopefully this will work just as, I mean, this is just styrofoam, but theoretically it should do the same thing to the spray foam. Pretty cool. So we'll see.
You made a mess.
Yeah, I made a mess, but we'll see if that works. Super easy for the bus. Fingers crossed. If not, the big knife is coming soon. We start by turning this thing. I'm gonna go pretty much all the way to high. I know this foam has quite a crust on it. So there it is. We'll come up here. And what happens if I just, oh yeah, it does something. A lot of smoke. Looks like the wire gets cold really fast, which is kind of a bummer. But I mean, it does work to some extent. Does it work as well as I want it to? Not really. Doesn't really want to move. Sliding it back and forth seems to help. It just cools off too fast. But I think the bigger issue here is the amount of fumes is pretty crazy, pretty unpleasant smelling. I'm gonna say I don't love it. So, oh well, I guess. So these are the other attachments, which I don't think are really gonna help me much. Maybe this hook one, but these straight ones I can't see being particularly useful for our needs. Well, I think this thing's going back because it's really not getting hot. And as soon as I go up past 6, it goes into some sort of error mode. So, kind of just a piece of junk. I think that's, send that on back. All right, well, I'm still being impatient. It's the same day, and I know that my hand foam saw isn't going to be here for a while. I couldn't find a foam blade for a Sawzall. I did find an entire unit for $700 that apparently the professionals use, but it was like integral. And there wasn't it wasn't this style of head, so that was frustrating. This is a wood blade. This bus is made of metal. The ribs that we're going through are steel. The ribs that we're going up against are steel, not aluminum. So this is a wood blade. It's a pretty worn out wood blade. I'm curious why I can't do this, so I'm gonna try it. And we'll see what the results are. So on we go, let's give it a shot. Guess we'll go, I already did that one. And I don't have enough extension cord for here, do I? Yeah, okay. Let's give it a shot. Does it work? Yeah, it works. Am I dinging up the aluminum? Or steel? Is it steel or aluminum? I don't know. But am I dinging it up? Not really. I can't remember if it's steel or aluminum. But is it beating it up? No. Is this blade long enough to get these giant gaps? Of course not. But that's not really the goal right now. So I need a different extension cord, that's for sure. All right, well, I just went after it with the Sawzall, and we're pretty good. I missed a couple of spots, like I just noticed I missed right here. But, you know, those are easy things to address with the handsaw or a mat knife. But quite a lot of trimming. You can see anywhere that it's roughed up, we took quite a lot off. And I think we did most of it. We did this room. We really did just about everything. So what does that mean? Well, except for these, which I definitely want to do by hand because we'll scratch all this. I think we could do some final hand trimming, then clean up the floor, and say that for a while at least, we're done with the insulation. So I can move on to the other projects, the plumbing and the final wiring. So I think that's a good next step. We'll just do some hand trimming and call the insulation done, at least for now. So one thing that I'm really still wanting is the rubbers for the windows, and I haven't found them yet. So if anybody out there knows old look buses and knows where I can get the rubbers for the windows, that would be amazing. It seems like a simple request, but apparently the profile is not out there. Nobody's finding it. I'd also be fine with something that would replace it, but I'm not entirely sure where to start looking or how I would, begin that process of taking the one that I have, finding one that fits in the window channel and still diverts water away the way I need it to. So anyway, that's kind of a struggle. If we have to go with caulking, we'll go with caulking. But I think that's enough for this video now. You guys have seen it insulated. You know that we're chugging right along here. And I think next video, I'm going to want to get you guys a view of some plumbing plans. So look forward to that. Like always, thanks for watching Highlandshire. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, helps us grow the channel. Really, that like button is a big one, so thumbs up if you don't mind. And I hope you guys are having a great one. Bye-bye.